You're listening to The Arms Room on the Vets on Media Network.
All right, you're on The Arms Room with Glenn.
And John.
It's good to be back.
I'm glad you're back.
You did a good job, man.
Thank you.
It was good to have Matt here and for everyone to hear his wonderful voice.
Yeah.
His input. So, your weekend, how was it?
It was fantastic-ish. Wife's sick. Kids a pain in the butt. I have a broken foot. But
Sounds like a country song.
Yeah.
yeah, it does. But I did have the opportunity to go to the Haley Strategic Open House over here in Scottsdale.
And you got a fanboy picture with Travis.
I did get a fanboy picture with
That's
Travis. Great. I think everybody there got a fanboy picture with Travis.
Did you put your arm around him?
I did.
I couldn't see your arm, so I was wondering if maybe you were touching his butt.
Like a, well, I'm not going to, we'll talk about that later.
Oh, okay. Was it firm? He looks like he works out.
He does.
Okay.
I think he shaves his legs.
I'm not sure about that. I don't like that, Travis. You should stop. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. How was your weekend? Because that pretty much covers mine.
My weekend was really good. It was good. I spent all last week doing some training up in Utah.
Yeah.
And had a great time. Love being in the outdoors, and that was very outdoor-themed training, and I love doing that kind of stuff, so it was great. Came home and really didn't do anything. Just hung out with my family for the whole 2 days because I hadn't seen them in, a week. So hung out, went out and did a bunch of fun activities on Saturday with the family, did some mini golfing and some video gaming. One cool thing that happened, though, was I had one of our babies in one of those front baby carrier things as we were playing mini golf, right? Mm-hmm. So he's like facing forward, and I'm playing mini golf. So then we go into this arcade, and we're playing. My son's like, hey, my oldest son's like, hey, I want to play the shooting game. So we jump on the shooting game, and it's got this cool long rifle thing, I've got the baby strapped to the front of me, and I'm just rocking this shooting game. People would walk by and look at me, and I'm just like, what?
It's real life, man.
It's training.
Training for real life.
For real life. I may have this baby in a front carrier laying it down. So yeah, it was good. It was a good weekend. I did want to mention this morning, though. Went out this morning and went on a really nice hike before the show up to some cool old ruins up on top of a hill, and went with Ben, who's one of our great students. And been around for a long time, several years, kind of become a friend of our company, and certainly a friend of John and I. Done a lot of training with us, been a lot of places with us, does a great job of promoting independence training, and so I just wanted to, kind of on the air say thanks, Ben, for everything that you've done. He's leaving on to his next big adventure, join the military. He's going in some pretty cool stuff. And so we certainly wish him well on that.
Have fun, Ben.
Kick some ass, Ben. All right, so today we're going to talk about hunting. I love hunting.
I don't know anything about hunting.
I've been hunting pretty much my whole life.
No, I have not.
So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how to get started in hunting. Here's what I see in the hunting world. I see a lot of people, a lot of vets, a lot of cops, a lot of shooters, a lot of outdoors people who want to hunt. They're interested in the hunting aspect, but they don't get into it because they feel like there's some kind of mystical art to hunting, like they have to have been raised hunting or they need to somehow know all this information to go hunting, but you don't. I'll say this a little bit nicer than I said it before we went on air, but basically you get your stuff, you go into the woods, and you hunt things, Now, and then there's a big difference between hunting and killing. I've been hunting for a long time. I've killed a lot of animals, and I'm happy to admit that there are plenty of times where I go hunting, and I have the capability to kill something, and I just don't anymore. I just don't always have to kill something now for that hunting to be satisfying. What satisfies me from the hunt perspective now is fooling the animal into a position or outsmarting the animal into a position where I can drop the hammer on him. I don't always do it, but knowing that I have the capability is sometimes enough. So the point to that, and the reason I bring that up, is to say that there is a lot more to hunting than killing.
What?
Yeah.
No.
There's tons on. There's plenty. I mean, look at wildlife photographers. What are they doing?
They're hunting.
They're hunting, right? They're not shooting anything with a gun. But I see these wildlife photographers who have mastered the art of stalking and camouflage. You know, they're like dressed up as a friggin' eagle's nest. You know what I mean? And they're in the eagle's nest taking pictures of baby eagles or whatever. You know, and that's cool. You know, or I saw one not too long ago. I was reading an article about a guy who photographs like mountain goats.
That's not easy.
That is tough terrain to be in, dude. I mean, this guy's got to be in top physical shape. He hikes for days to get back to this country, and he was like in Kyrgyzstan or someplace like that, you know, photographing these goats. And, you know, really mountainous, tough terrain to be into, and they're easy to spook, you know, these critters. And then they run away on the mountains, and you can't keep up with them. So you've got to be super stealthy about sneaking up. And this guy does this, and I'm going, dude, that's a hunting skill beyond even what I possess. That's incredible hunting skill. He's not killing anything. He's just taking their pictures. So when we're talking about hunting, understand we're not always talking about killing, you know. And as my dad used to say, you know, we'd go out sometimes to be unsuccessful in hunting something, and he would say that's why they call it hunting and not getting, you know, or hunting and not killing, you know. And that's the idea. There's a lot more to hunting. There's enjoying the outdoors. I find it incredibly therapeutic. I've had the opportunity over the years to take out some wounded warriors on some different type of hunting and hiking, you know, out excursions, we'll call them. It's incredibly therapeutic for them. I find it incredibly therapeutic. I love being outside. I love being in the outdoors. There's something majestic about it. There's something there's something internal about it. You know, like your soul wants to be there. It loves being out there. It wants to see these beautiful sights and these amazing vistas. And if that includes, you know, killing an animal or getting your prey or whatever, so be it. But the hunting aspect is really what's satisfying. So there's a lot more to hunting than just the killing, and I kind of want to make that clear up front, so that as people are maybe considering hunting, doesn't mean you have to go out and, you know, start slaughtering animals or whatever. That being said, understand I'm also no stranger to slaughtering animals, nor am I scared of it or anything like that. So let's talk about hunting. Some of the required things, and then John, because I know you don't have a lot of experience hunting.
None. I have one horrible hunting experience where I basically got frostbite on my toes carrying a shotgun around in the woods for hours and saw nothing but squirrels.
It's funny, shoot the squirrels, John.
My dad said I couldn't because we'd scare away the deer that weren't there.
So we'll get some of your questions. I'm sure Adam wants to weigh in on this. I'm sure Adam really wants to weigh in on this.
Speaking of Adam, we did not ask Adam how his weekend
Oh,
was.
criminy. How's your weekend, Adam?
No, I'm not important. That's fine. No, it was.
All right, moving on.
All right, moving on.
No, it's a good weekend. Thanks, guys. Good weekend.
That's it?
Yeah. No, I just, you know.
I take time out of the program
It
to ask
was-
how
it
your
was-
weekend
it
is,
was a
and you
good-
say it's good?
Good weekend. Got the pool cleaned up, washed the truck. Did a show. I was at a conference for veterans on Saturday.
When you clean your
so-
pool, do you wear really short shorts and no shirt?
I have my army of one Speedo that I
got your-
wear. Yeah. Sometimes the banana hammock depends on how, you know. This week it was a little, you know, the sun wasn't directly out. There was a slight overcast, so I just went with the army of one Speedo.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the gold chain. That was all.
I'm going to have nightmares about that
Yeah.
now.
It says Army, one on the front,
Yeah.
death before dismount on the back.
Yep.
Awesome.
And on that note,
So what about
So-
the veterans
so-
thing? Tell me about that. I'm interested.
it was just it was the Veterans Housing Summit.
Oh, okay.
So they did a summit where a couple of companies came in and educated veterans on using their VA loan, what they could do. You know, a lot of veterans don't realize you can actually have 2 VA loans out now. So it was pretty good. It was
Good.
pretty good.
Right on. You gonna be talking about that on your show at all?
Maybe just briefly, a little bit. We actually, the Welcome Back Home show talked a little bit about it last Friday, and then we might be having a real estate show come on the network here within the next month or two.
And Welcome Back Home, they are part of the Vets on Media Network.
They are part of the Vets on Media Network. That's correct.
For anybody who doesn't know, the Vets on Media Network has how many shows? 20?
Getting close. I think we have up to about 14.
Okay, so over a dozen, I guess.
Yeah, about a dozen.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different shows. I mean, ours is the best, obviously.
Yeah, because we're awesome.
But there are other cool shows that have cool things. Adam even has his own show where you can listen to him and James talk about all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah,
all kinds of cool stuff. I actually listen to the show. It's a good show.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Adam. So that I'm the one. I'm the guy. I'm the listener.
Yeah.
Every time you look at there.
I was like, cool. That's Clint. All right, cool. All right, we're good.
So seriously, it's a good show. Back to hunting.
Back to
hunting. Let's talk hunting.
Back to hunting. By the way, if you have any questions or comments about hunting today, please call us 602-399-7787. You can also always post your comments or questions on our Facebook link, the We're Live link. So if you have questions or comments about hunting, feel free to chime in. So back to hunting and how to get started and all that good stuff. So we're going to kind of be talking to, having John ask us some questions about, or ask me some questions about how to get started, or questions you have about getting started hunting, because I know you ask me a lot.
I do ask.
And I know you do want to kill stuff.
I do so badly want to kill something.
And I want to show you how to kill stuff. All right.
That's fantastic.
So what we're going to talk about today.
Like the dad I never had.
Legally.
So let's talk about some of the things you need. Primarily, first and foremost, before you even consider going afield, you must check your hunting regulations in your state. Every state has a game and fish or a fish and game. Sometimes they're flopped. I don't know why. Either way, your state has some kind of organization that's going to regulate what can be hunted, what season, where you can hunt them, how you can hunt them. Become intimately familiar with these regulations. A good friend of mine is a game warden here in the state of Arizona, and they bust so many people, good, honest people, who just make a stupid mistake because they didn't understand the regulations, or they didn't read the regulations thoroughly, or they misread a bag limit or misread a season or whatever. And like any other law, ignorance is not an excuse. If you forgot or didn't read or whatever, that's not an excuse for not knowing the rules. So be very, very familiar with the regulations. Understand the type of animal you're going after, what other animals may be in that area, all that good stuff. One thing I highly recommend doing is going and taking a hunter's education course. Now, here in the state of Arizona, they're cheap. They're like $25.
Now, is that required to get a hunting license?
Not required in Arizona. It is required in some states. Like I hunt also in Colorado and Wyoming. It is required to have a hunter's ed, and I can have my Arizona hunter's ed, but it is required to have a hunter's ed card, certification, whatever you want to call it, to even hunt in those states. And so some states it is going to be required. Again, information you'll find out in your regulations. But if it's not required in your state, I recommend going through one anyway. A lot of states like Arizona will have both an online version and an in-person version. I always recommend the in-person version. And like any other training, don't just take a class. Do some research on an instructor. Recently with my oldest son, I went through hunter's education with an instructor who, he's hunted internationally. He's really, really good. He's been hunting his whole life. And the insight he was able to give, I learned some stuff in the class. It'd been 20 years since I took my hunter's ed, and I learned some cool stuff, even about the rules and regulations, things I didn't know. So go through a class with a really, really good instructor, not just any old instructor. Find someone who hunts. Find someone who spends time doing it. Find someone who maybe teaches other types of courses like that. Get some references, because they're not all created equal. Just like a handgun class or a freaking sewing class or whatever,
right.
All of them are going to have different levels of instructors. So make sure you check into that. Now, hunter's ed is great because mostly not all the programs are going to teach you a lot about hunting. Like the Arizona program teaches you mostly about how to not break the rules and how to be safe. Firearm safety, how to be safe while hunting. Considerations, things like, if you find someone hunting a water hole, let's say you scouted out a water hole before the hunt, you went, you scouted it, you found out where the animals were, you're super excited to go hunt this water hole, and you show up and someone else is there and it's on public land. What's the ethical thing to do? You know the answer, Atham?
Let the other person hunt it.
Let the other person hunt it.
Yep.
First come, first serve. It's public land, you know, and you can resolve a lot of conflicts just by understanding kind of some of the hunter ethical type stuff. Things like, you know, what happens if you accidentally exceed a bag limit? What happens if you accidentally shoot the wrong animal? You're going to learn about all those kinds of things in hunter's education, and it's really valuable because you're going to learn from the game and fish department on the game and fish regulations.
Actually, I have a question about that. How do you shoot the wrong animal?
It happens a lot, man. You know, people shoot
different birds.
They'll shoot the wrong bird.
Okay.
Thinking it's quail season when it's dove season, or vice versa.
I got you.
They'll shoot. They'll think they're shooting an antlerless elk, you know, a cow elk or an antlerless elk, and actually the animal was standing behind a bush or whatever, and they couldn't see the antlers, or it was a little spike or something like that, and they were like, oh crap, it really has these little antlers that I couldn't see. You know, they didn't properly identify it. They'll accidentally go over a limit. You know, they'll shoot 11 when they were supposed to shoot 10, and just how to report those things. And it's sometimes the Game and Fish is kind of lenient on that, you know. Again, having worked with the Game and Fish in the past on a couple different things, I will say that game wardens are like cops. Some of them are sticklers and some of them aren't. So it's kind of luck of the draw, unfortunately. But, you know, in my experience with game wardens, I have found them to be a little bit more on the hunter's side. Now, that being said, there is definitely a shift recently that I've seen, and I'll just, you know, note this real briefly before, you know, and then kind of move on. But I have noticed that there is definitely a shift towards game wardens who are not hunters, not fishermen, fisherwomen, whatever you want to call it. There's a much bigger shift towards people who are college graduates, people who are looking to, you know, gain a position so that they can move up in the game and fish organization, and kind of, you know, the law enforcement side is just a good stepping stone for them. So there's plenty of game wardens out there who aren't hunters, and that, in my opinion, is a bad combination.
Right.
You know, but understand that that's out there. So not all game wardens are going to be super friendly. In my experience, I've only ever had one very negative contact with a game warden. Unfortunately, it's a game warden in my area where I live, and that game warden is still there, and that's kind of a bummer because that particular game warden makes it very difficult for people to do what they're trying to do very legally. But that's neither here nor there at this point. So, you know, try to get a good working relationship with game wardens in the area that you're going to be hunting in. Going through hunter's education is going to help you avoid some of the common pitfalls. It's going to help you learn about safety. It's going to help you learn about, you know, hunter ethics and things like that, stuff that sometimes people just don't think about. So learn the regs, go through a hunter's education program, might be necessary or required in your state. Make sure that you have the appropriate licenses and tags and whatever before you go out. You know, your license allows you to hunt some things. Tags are required for other things. Sometimes it's an over-the-counter tag.
Right.
Sometimes it'll be a lottery tag. You'll have to enter a lottery drawing and be drawn for a certain tag.
Those suck.
They definitely do suck, and unfortunately, most of the big game hunts here in Arizona are almost all lottery. We have very few over-the-counter stuff, but it is really great opportunity to get to know the system really well, you know, and kind of how to game the system. There is a way to game the system. Some people think they know it, some people don't. I'm not gonna go into depth there, but
we'll talk after the show about that.
There is a slight way to game the system. That being said, you know, get to know the regs. I can't stress that enough. You know, there's a lot of people all take out hunting just for fun. And I'm not a guide or anything, but
books with all of the seasons and like
you can get them online, man. Yeah.
Yeah, or you can pick them up at Walmart, Sportsman's Warehouse, any of the places that
any place that sells a license.
Yeah, and they're not very big, so
they're all paper. They're usually at the hunter's counter.
Yep.
You know, the back.
They've
Walmart,
got
or
the
at least
fishing
Walmart,
ones and the game ones,
and I know with Arizona you can download the regs.
You know?
Yeah.
And the good thing is the legalese written in the back is actually pretty plain English. It's not really, really difficult to understand stuff, at least in Arizona. Yeah, exactly.
Hereto, therefore, thou shalt not count to 5.
Exactly. So
if you get that reference, post it up on our Facebook page, and you get a free hug from John.
You get a free hug if you get that reference. So that's where you want to start. The next thing, and we'll talk about this briefly before we go on break here, is equipment. How do you get the right equipment? Look, start with what you already have. If you're a vet or a cop or an outdoorsman of any kind, you probably have some camo laying around. Good. Use it. I've killed the majority of animals I've killed in the state of Arizona wearing woodland BDUs or Marpat. I like the Marpat.
Why go purchase
design.
the stuff if you already, if you
You already
still
have
got old uniforms that you fit in?
Yeah.
Use them. No sense of going out and spending a whole bunch of money.
No.
And don't get me wrong, Cabela's is my home away from home. I like the real tree stuff and all that other stuff, and I got some of that stuff. But when I go out, even when I'm out shooting, I'll take my old BDU bottoms or ACU bottoms and top and just go out and use that. No sense of I just feel, me personally, there's no sense of wasting money on stuff that you don't need when you can utilize the stuff that you already have.
Well, and the big thing about that that people don't consider is the way that camouflage really works. You're not trying to hide from human eyes under optics. You're trying to hide from a certain color spectrum and the way that your pattern isn't really that important. It's do the colors match the environment. I've killed plenty of animals in tan pants and a green shirt. I mean, literally that basic. And all that I'm trying to do is break up a little bit of outline and match my surrounding terrain. I have pretty extensive experience dealing with animals very up close because I do so much predator hunting. I know what patterns work and what don't. Being in a pattern that breaks up your outline and matches the terrain, and then staying still will do a whole lot more for your pattern or for your disguise, your camouflage, whatever you want to call it, than some really intricate leafy pattern. Because when you look at those intricate leafy patterns on, let's say the pages of American Hunter or something like that, well, those things are all, those pictures, those photos are designed to make you go, ooh, I want to buy that, right? Mm-hmm. But the animals don't see it like that. And if you ever look at those patterns, take your real tree, take your mossy oak, take your multicam, put them next to each other, set them out at about 100 yards, and go ahead and look at them. You'll notice there's no difference. It's all about the colors, because at that distance, all the pattern just becomes a big old blob, and you're not seeing leaves and all that kind of jazz. So we'll talk more a little bit about camouflage and about other kinds of equipment that you are going to want to look at when we come back from the break. You are listening to The Arms Room.
Break a 19. How about that bandage? You got some ears on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. And if you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in your life. I'm no different. Hey everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strong about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Are you or someone you know suffering from eczema, diabetes, or vitamin deficiencies? Then I can share with you something to help remedy that with health and wellness. It can be a business plan too, which is a great opportunity to meet and interact with all types of people who care about changing lives. So when you are ready to make a difference, call Jamie at 602-295-9969. That's 602-295-9969.
Hey everyone, it's Adam from Vets On. Are you or someone you know looking for employment? Then look no further than iVetX. iVetX is placing veterans with the right hiring companies. Join their mission in putting veterans in inspiring careers with ensured success. Access their national pipeline of military talent for companies. All veterans are pre-screened for 55 soft skill sets, 800 clarification types, education, experience, salary range, and so much more. IVETX can help you find the perfect job to veteran match. Your skills are based on what's needed for success in that job. If you're a hiring company or a veteran looking for your next career, then get started today and go to www.ivetx.com. IVETX, bridging the employer-veteran gap by putting Americans' veterans to work today. You're listening to The Arms Room on the Vets on Media Network.
All right, you're back on the Arms Room. We are talking about hunting, how to get involved, and then toward the end of the show, we're going to talk about how to be a mentor if you're already a hunter, why it is your responsibility to take someone else out and teach them how to hunt. So we were talking just before the break about gear. We talked about you got to have the right rules and regulations, you got to have the right licenses, all that. We started getting into gear, camouflage, wear what you got. Don't worry about running out and buying a whole bunch. In fact,
because we could literally do a whole nother show just on camouflage.
We could do a whole other show on camo. One of the things I did, Independence Training teaches a yearly class called the Coyote Clinic, which is a predator hunting class that we teach once a year. And we always have everyone wear their different camouflage, and everyone can see like what patterns work and what patterns don't. As we're moving around the field, people are like, hey, that camo really sucks, or hey, that camo's really good. And I had a friend of mine come out and take the class one time, and I took him to Walmart the night before, and I said, okay, we're going to buy all your camo from Walmart. He's a brand new hunter. So I said, we're going to buy all your camo from Walmart. And so it's during hunting season where they have all their cool, camo, and it's like they sell like the Realtree, just like cheap clothing in Realtree. We outfitted him head to toe for under $100. I mean, he had the pants, shirt, jacket, gloves, face mask, hat, everything for under $100. And for his amount of hunting that he's going to do, it was perfect. It was just fine. Now he goes hunting with me a couple times a year. Perfect for him. He's got that stuff, on standby. He doesn't have to dump. I mean, you take that, you go over to Cabela's like Adam was talking about earlier, and you buy all the name brand stuff.
Pants for $100.
Oh yeah, that stuff's expensive. So, start with what you got. Start there. Like I said, I do most of my hunting in BDUs. So let's talk about a gun or a bow. You're going to need some kind of firearm if you plan on doing any killing, right? If you plan on doing photography or whatever, then,
go buy a good camera.
Go buy a good camera. But if you're talking about a firearm, bow, whatever, there's no need to run out and dump a bunch of money into this until you figure out whether or not it's going to be what you want to do. So set yourself up for success by buying good equipment, but don't go crazy. Like if you've got a, dad's old trusty shotgun, then use it. If you've got, your uncle's good old hunting rifle or some good rifle that you use for whatever purpose, great, use that. You put a good piece of glass on it. If you're gonna use any kind of optic, I always recommend spending good money on good glass. You're never ever gonna regret putting money into glass. Get a good optic, scope, whatever you want to use. Red dots are great for a lot of hunting as well. If you expect close quarters kind of hunting, like for predator hunting, we use a lot of red dots because we're pretty close in. If you're going to go to a bow, go start with, a used bow. Go into a good archery shop. Don't buy it off of Craigslist or anything like that. Go into an archery shop, get measured for your draw length. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. Get measured for your draw weight, and you don't have to be a big old man and be like, I'm going to get a 70-pound bow because I'm a freaking man killer.
I think mine's like 50.
Yeah, you want to be able to pull the bow back easily every time without a lot of movement. So if it takes you strenuously pulling it back, then you're going to make too much movement. You're more likely to scare the animal away and hurt yourself and be tired then. And obviously you have to practice with this, so the harder it is to pull back, the less you're going to practice. So go into an archery shop, have them measure you. Most archery shops are going to have used equipment on consignment, whatever. It's been checked by them. It's all good to go. You can save a ton of money by buying a good used bow. If you want to get into archery, which I love, I enjoy archery. It's a little bit more difficult, a little bit more challenging to get closer to the animal. There's a lot more stalking, a lot more stealth involved, and the shots are typically closer. I've never taken an archery shot over 50 yards. I've definitely taken rifle shots farther than that. So, depending on the kind of style of hunting you want to get into, if you're going to go out and buy equipment, you don't have to go big or go home kind of thing. Great. If you got money, falling out of your ass, then great. Go get
send some of it our way.
Yeah, sponsor the Arms Room, all right?
Help us out a little bit.
But otherwise, go out and be reasonable about the gear that you're buying. Understand that you want to get a good piece of equipment, but you don't have to get the top of the line until you figure out whether or not this is actually going to happen.
Make sure it works for your environment.
There's a reason so many used bows are on the consignment shelf because guys go out, they buy brand new bows. They're going to drop $1,000 on a brand new bow.
Same thing with used guns.
Same thing with used guns. They're going to go out and spend a lot of money on a gun and then go, oh, I don't really shoot this, and now my wife wants a new diamond ring or whatever, you know. And so they're going to go and get rid of this gun. So there are some good stuff out there in the used market. I just recommend buying it from a shop instead of buying it from somebody, unless you know exactly what you're looking for. In that case, fine. Be careful with archery, especially because a lot of that equipment can be heavily tampered with. If there's fractures in the limb or anything like that, you can find yourself with a face full of hurt real fast. You know, if that bow's been dry fired and they don't tell you about it, the archery shop's going to be able to give it a good look, you know, look-see and tell you whether or not there's a mechanical issue.
Right.
The dude who's just trying to sell off a Craigslist may or may not tell you if there's a problem with it. So,
well, and if you do buy used equipment, unless you're buying it from someone you know, and this goes for any equipment, you know, especially for shooting stuff, go and have it checked out by a gunsmith or an archery shop, or you know, go, hey, you know, I picked this up. It was a good deal. It wasn't too good of a deal, but I still want to have this thing checked out and looked at and make sure that there's no problems with it.
Absolutely. And once you get that thing, become proficient with it. That's a big part of, obviously we're into training. Everybody knows that. So it's important to become proficient with your firearm or your bow. That means you should be able to hit your bow or hit shots with your bow from the kneeling position, from modified, kind of squatting positions. You should be comfortable shooting at 3D realistic targets. Don't just go out and shoot into a bale of hay and call yourself good to go. You should be good at shooting at 3D targets from angles. Know where you're supposed to place your shot at angles, downward angles, upward angles. Quartering away, quartering towards. Chest forward. You should know all those kinds of shots. You should be very, very comfortable doing it. So go to an archery range or buy some targets, stick them in your backyard, and have a good time. That's actually a big advantage of archery is, I live in the city limits. I can't practice with my firearms, but I can practice with my bow.
Heck yeah.
So that's pretty cool. If you're, looking at using a firearm, then don't just go to the range, sight in at the bench, and call yourself good to go. Shooting from a bench sighted in is nothing like shooting in the field. Practice shooting from a prone. Practice shooting from a kneeling. Practice shooting through the brush. Practice, all the different positions that you may find yourself in the field. When it's cold out there, go work your gun. Adam was telling a story earlier. It was so cold where he grew up in Wisconsin/Canada there, and it was so cold he couldn't take the safety off of his gun. I mean, those are the kind of things that you're going to have to be prepared for. And so go out and practice with your equipment nonstop till you're extremely, extremely comfortable with it. The ins and outs of it. You can shoot from different positions, under different conditions, at different distances. Where your bullet's going to impact, where your arrow's going to impact, so that you're not winging shots out there and wounding animals that's either A, a waste of natural resources, just going to go off and die, or B, something that you're going to have to try to track for days or, hours or whatever, and it's going to have to be in pain.
Something else, Glenn, that you want to bring up is, when you want to make a kill shot right away, and not only just because you don't want to keep track of a wounded animal or anything like that, but a lot of the times, especially here in Arizona, you get up in the mountain areas, you got, cougars and bobcats and stuff like that, and other animals that will track that animal that you're tracking, and if you're running out of daylight and stuff, you're kind of putting yourself in a dangerous position for something to creep up on you when you're out there hunting, especially by yourself.
Well, and you're also looking at potentially losing the animal.
Exactly.
The younger brother of a friend of mine a couple of years ago killed a really nice antelope, shot it, didn't get a good clean kill shot. It was getting dark, so we'll come back in the morning, we'll track it because I couldn't see anything. Come back in the morning, thing had died, and the coyotes had destroyed that thing. So they lost all the meat. And that's, they're meat hunters. They wanted the meat. So, they got a nice mount out of it. They were able to, obviously still take the horns, and that was great. But the meat was not wasted. The animals ate it. Nature doesn't waste anything. But
the purpose to going out there wasn't just to get a trophy. It was to get, provide meat for the family and whatnot. I get that.
So, and on that quick note, when people talk about game meat, it's not really that much cheaper to hunt meat than it is to just buy meat, because by the time you add up the price of tags and hunting and all that kind of stuff, especially in a place like here in Arizona where an elk tag is $130, I mean, it's expensive to get a tag, go out. You got to drive out there. You got to scout. You got to drive around hunting. You got to do a lot of hiking, got to spend a lot of time.
But you know what though?
Not that much cheaper.
If you get you may not say not much cheaper, but you get a big bull elk or a big cow elk, that meat's going to last you quite a while. And I mean, and nowadays you go out, to go get 5 pounds of top sirloin is $30.
Right.
So there's your ticket right there, and that might not last you a meal or two, or depending on if you make jerky or whatnot. You get a 200 400 pound elk, and then you field dress, and you got 200 pounds worth of meat. That's going to last you quite a while.
Well, I agree with that to a point, but the biggest advantage that I see with game meat is it's incredibly good for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's the reason I like
absolutely
game meat. There's no hormones. There's no nasty stuff that it was fed. It's incredibly natural. It's incredibly lean. There's not a bunch of fat or anything like that. I mean, it's some of the best meat that you can eat, whether you're talking about deer, whether you're talking about elk, fish, game, birds, whatever.
Let me ask you this too. How many people do you know here in Arizona? Like, when growing up, where I grew up in Wisconsin hunting, we used every part of the animal that you could. I mean, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we sold the hides and stuff like that. And a lot of times, depending on what the hides or what furs we're going for, what the fur market is, you could make a decent amount of money on that. And that could, I mean, by the time you spend, like you were saying, for your tag, gas and food going out there, and the time being away from, some of us had day jobs and they take time off of work for that. You go out and you get a nice animal or whatnot, you could easily make that money back on top of that, feed your family and stuff like that. I don't know how many people, and I don't know because I don't hunt a lot here in Arizona yet. Do you see a lot of hunters here in Arizona do that, where they keep all they utilize all of the animal?
No, the majority of hunters I know or are around are very they're RV hunters.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of trophy hunting done in Arizona.
There's a lot of trophy hunting where the primary goal is the antlers or the horn or a good wall mount, a good full body mount, whatever. But there are a lot of RV hunters as well. Now there's still plenty of traditional hunters, guys like you and me, Adam, who grew up doing it, the hard way.
Right.
But there's a lot of RV, back of the quad, GPS, kind of hunters out there these days who are very much into the luxury of hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And so for them, they're going to kill the animal and they're going to take it to a processing plant anyways.
Right.
So the utilization of the full amount of the animal, typically no. I don't see a lot of that.
Okay.
So other things that you want to consider as far as gear, this is kind of the standard hiking type stuff. I mean, make sure that you've got a decent day pack, that you've got a way to carry water and food and your survival kit and your first aid kit and your extra ammo and your extra clothes if you're going to have weather changes, anything like that. And of course, like everything else, know how to use all that stuff before you go into the field. Be very, very comfortable with it. So I think that's really, if you wanted to get started in hunting, you were just trying to buy gear, that's where I'd start. Your good camo, which you probably already own if you have any kind of camo BDUs or anything like that. A good rifle or bow, which you may already own. Start with what you got. Don't go crazy about buying a bunch of new stuff if you don't need to. Knowing the rules and regulations, having the appropriate licenses and tags, preferably going through some kind of hunter's education course. Understanding how to utilize animals, how to field dress them, how to use them to the maximum capability. There's tons of videos. There's YouTube videos out there. There's DVDs. There's entire books written on that topic. There's no reason to go out into the field and be ignorant about that. And then finally, just make sure you have your standard emergency equipment, the kind of stuff that you're likely to need that's going to sustain you out there and keep you happy and healthy and going strong.
So do I have to cover my boots in deer urine to effectively hunt?
My take on cover sense is this: don't hunt properly, and you don't have to worry about cover sense.
Okay.
Now that being said, I am not an East Coast hunter, so I know some of those guys would probably argue with me, and that's good. Their style of hunting is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, because I grew up in the southeast.
That super thick kind of terrain. I've never really hunted in that stuff before. Very, very limited experience in it. So in that case, it may be really necessary. For me, I spend a lot more time judging the animal and watching their behavior and playing the wind. And it's hard to really eliminate the human scent anyways without A, spending a lot of money, or B, taking up a lot of time?
I think it's a little harder to hunt here in the Southwest, part of the states, because you don't get as close to the animals. I would say 90% of the time as you would, out east or even in the Midwest. I mean, the Midwest do a lot of, tree stand hunting, and where the animals literally they'll come right up underneath you. Right. Out here you don't see a lot of tree stand hunters out here. You see blinds and whatnot, but a 200-yard shot here, I mean, that's fairly, people consider that pretty close. I mean, you're shooting up in the Midwest 200 yards.
There's no spot to shoot 200 yards.
There's no spot to. I mean, you're lucky if you got a clear opening, 50, 60 yards. That's a great shot. Yeah.
So I think the last piece of equipment, before we take some of John's questions, we'll take a couple of his questions. We'll go on break. But I think the last piece of equipment that you have to consider before you go hunting is your body.
Yeah.
You got to be in good physical condition. Doesn't mean you got to be a CrossFitter, as we've mentioned before, okay? but you've got to be in some kind of physical condition so that you can hike, you can hunt, you can move, you can get stealthy, you can low crawl onto something, you can, sit for a long period of time without getting uncomfortable. So if that means you have to modify some stuff, like, you need to buy better footwear, or maybe you need to take a little stool out there with you or whatever, do that. Figure out what your physical limitations are. Try to improve them as much as you possibly can. But the better shape you're in, the more likely you are, I think, to get to where the animals are, especially when you're hunting a place like Arizona, as Adam mentioned, which is big open country, or anywhere in the Southwest, which is big open country, lots of mountains and hills and valleys and places to climb around in.
Well,
you're not in good shape, it's going to be difficult.
And when you make a kill, you got to pack that stuff out.
Yep, that's the other part.
And that's, you're adding, I'm not a tiny guy. I'm coming in about 240, but then you kill a big bull elk and you got 200 pounds worth of meat. 400 plus pounds
plus a head that weighs 30 or 40 pounds.
Yeah, walking out is a lot different than just 240 pounds trying to walk out.
Oh, absolutely. So, John, you've been listening to some of the new stuff. What do you think? Give me a question before we go on break. That's not a question.
Yeah, I know. Well, you put me on the spot, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I literally have no questions because there's so much information right now that my mind is processing.
Okay. Well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go on break.
Actually, I do have a question.
Okay, hold on. To ask it, go.
If you buy new camo, should you wash it before you go out?
Okay, we're gonna answer that when we get back from break because that is a good question. You're listening to the Arms Room.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in their life. I'm no different. Hey everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strongly about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
Would your goal be to get you and your family out of debt? I can show you how thousands of people and families are doing just that. This is a business plan made simple. We offer everything from weight loss products to green cleaning solutions. Whether you're interested in making it a full-time or part-time opportunity to become debt-free, or if you are just sick and tired of being sick and tired, call Jamie at 602-295-9969. That's 602-295-9969.
Breaker 19. How about that bandage? You got some ears on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule, If you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
What are you doing Saturday, May 24th, 2014? You should be joining us to help raise money for fallen heroes and wounded veterans. Hey everyone, it's James from Vets On. The American Legion Riders Post 34, in cooperation with its major sponsor, Vets On Media, is honored to present the inaugural Memorial Day Ride 2014. 100% of the net proceeds raised at this event will go directly to charity, benefiting the Military Assistance Mission, the Army Emergency Relief Fund, and wounded heroes at the Balboa Naval Hospital. This event is veteran-focused from start to finish. The event begins at 0730 at the National Guard Armory located at 52nd Street in McDowell. There will be a breakfast and a chance to connect with over 3 dozen veteran businesses. A ride through the National Cemetery will also take place to honor the fallen. The ride will end at American Legion Post 34 in Cave Creek, where there will be a full barbecue of hamburgers, brats, baked beans, potato salad, live music, comedians, and numerous raffle items. So join us by registering now at vetsonmedia.com or on the day of the event. Don't forget to tell a friend and make a difference in the lives of those that have given so much. Again, go to vetsonmedia.com to pre-register today.
Head out on the highway.
You're listening to The Arms Room on the Vets On Media Network.
All right, you're back on the Arms Room. We're talking about hunting today, how to get started in hunting, and why it's important to get started in hunting, and that you don't have to have a lot of stuff, and you don't need to have any experience to get started in hunting.
That's good, because I have none.
I mean, most of the experience that you need is the experience that you're going to get, and honestly, especially if you are a military vet or a law enforcement officer or any kind of outdoorsman, hiker, or anything like that, you probably already have a lot of the experience. You're just going to have to apply it in a little bit of a different venue, but you have the experience of doing a field patrol. You have the experience of being quiet. You have the experience of light discipline. You have the experience of sitting still for long periods of time, being a little bored and waiting for something to happen. You know what I mean?
That's been the biggest thing for me. That's why I've never really hunted. So I can't.
Well, and there's different types of experience. I mean, or different types of hunting. I mean, you have active hunting, you have stand or blind hunting. You have spot and stock hunting. So there's always different styles. I can actively hunt where I'm walking around trying to find the animal. I have blind or still hunting where I'm setting up an area, either waiting like on a water hole or a trail or something like that. Adam mentioned deer stands, tree stands before, or you can do spot and stock. So in spot and stock, I'm hiking to a high vantage point. I'm using good optics to glass an area, try to find the animal I want, and then plan a route to go put a good stock on them to get close to them. So there's different styles of hunting and different animals that you can hunt throughout these different styles. So it kind of fits, everyone's kind of got their style that they like.
Thanks for stealing one of my questions, actually.
Well, there you go.
I was going to ask about that.
Look, I'm like a question answer machine over here.
But you totally glazed over the question I asked before.
I didn't. I'm going to answer it.
Okay.
Here we go. So John asked a question before the break about what should you do with your camouflage before you go hunting? And here's what I recommend to everybody.
Brand new stuff from the store.
Brand new stuff from the store. It's shiny. As odd as that sounds, it's shiny material. So you need to wash it and wear it. So I always recommend to people, number one, wash it. I will wash in pretty much any kind of soap, but I will always air dry my stuff. Drying it outside is fine. Some people dry it and then they stick it in a bag full of leaves or cedar branches, whatever. I mean, it's fine. If you want to try to defeat scent that way, that's fine. Whatever, it works. What I like to do is, anytime I get brand new camo, I usually wash it a couple times, like brand new stuff. Wash it a couple times, kind of get the crunch and the shine and brand new stink off of it, and then I wear it. Wear it around the house. Beat it up, wear it out shooting, hiking, stuff like that. Get it kind of really well broken in. Get those colors to fade just a little bit so that they look a little bit more natural. Colors in the wild typically aren't super bright and lots and lots of contrast. They're kind of dull versions of the colors. So yes, you should wash and wear your camo before taking it to the field. Adam, you look like you have something you want to say.
No, I was going to say that's good advice. I've done that, or I'll take when I'm wearing it, I try to get sweat and go work, like whether it's yard work or something like that, and then I'll take a handful of dirt and I'll just start rubbing dirt all over, and then I'll leave it, and then I'll air dry it. I won't
Mhm.
wash it again. I'll just leave that dirt set in, and then once I get out into the woods, I'll take a couple branches or whatnot and rub the bark and stuff on there as well.
And anything you can do to just remove a little bit of that natural human stink.
Yeah.
And it all depends on the type of animal that you're hunting as to how effective scent control is going to be. When you're hunting predators, they smell really, really well. I always like to tell people, like when I'm teaching people about predator hunting, that hiding your scent from a deer, you're trying to hide the fact that you had a burrito this morning, right?
Yeah.
But hiding your scent from a coyote, you're trying to hide the fact of who made the burrito this morning.
Right.
That's the difference between their smelling capabilities. So with certain animals, sometimes scent control is possible. With some of them, scent management.
So how would you do that? Because you're out there sweating.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've heard tricks where if you got a little bit of water, get a little dirt, make a little bit of mud, and kind of put that on your back, your pores, and stuff like that. Because obviously that's coming out of your pores. I mean, any advice on that if you don't have any scent cover?
I've seen people do that. I've seen people use animal urine, even go as far as to shoot a rabbit right there, slice it open, take the bladder, which is always full in a rabbit. Rabbits are always right now have to pee. They always have these really full bladders, and they'll take that stuff, they'll put it on their boots, like John was joking about earlier. They'll put it on the sleeve of their shirt. They'll cover anything that may kind of stink, and then you smell like rabbit piss, but you're kind of covering up the human scent. I've heard of people doing that. I don't do that. I mostly manage my scent. I pay attention to where the wind is going. I'm always hunting so that the downwind is behind me, and then depending on the type of animal that I'm hunting, sometimes my downwind will even be in front of me, so to this side or that side. I like to set myself up more so that I can see into my downwind and play my downwind, as opposed to always constantly trying to control my scent. And that can be tough, because here in Arizona especially, man, the wind will shift directions. It's a real pain in the butt. 1 second it's going left to right, then it's going right to left. And it's hard to manage.
The wind blows here?
It does a little bit.
Yeah.
The wind blows is a good way to just sum up that whole thing. But so I like to kind of do more of scent management than scent control. But the kind of animals that I typically hunt aren't necessarily affected that much by scent control. So it's not something I've ever really done. I know there's a lot of people who wear the scent blocker clothing, and they wash their clothes in the scent blocker stuff. They wear scent blocker deodorant. They rub leaves on themselves and all that. I mean, people get really serious about it.
Right.
And in some places like the East Coast, where it's really thick cover and you may not have the chance to play the wind, that may be more important. I'm not 100% because that's not my stomping grounds.
So it just basically depends on where you're hunting.
I think it does.
Know the terrain, know the area which you're hunting. When I say know the area, I'm not saying you don't necessarily have to. It might be a new physical location that you don't have to know that area very well. Maybe take out a map so you know about where you're at. But as far as cover, are you going into a heavily wooded area, or are you out more into the open where there's some shrubs and little stuff every now and then?
Right. Absolutely. John, give me another question.
Uh-oh.
Do you have any more questions?
I don't.
So I already answered your other question.
You already
All
answered them. And then the whole scent thing. No.
So we're already answering your questions.
Yeah, you're answering my questions.
Adam and I are like mind readers. We're so good at what we do.
That's disturbing.
It's a gift.
It is. All right, so
what am I thinking now?
I can't repeat it on the air.
I'm going to mute your mic.
All right, so last few minutes I want to talk about of the show. I want to talk about being a hunting mentor. As a hunter, the hunting numbers are kind of starting to dwindle. I believe I have two beliefs in this. One, and here we go. It's time for Glenn to maybe hurt somebody's feelings. Okay, I've done it before, and it will happen again. Number one, people are getting fatter and lazier. They don't want to go outside. They don't want to work hard for it, because it is hard work. You are going to sweat. You are going to hike. You are going to work hard if you really want the good result of hunting. Now, hunting isn't always that way. Sometimes it's like a walk in the park. You're like, holy crap, did that just happen? I just got all my stuff unloaded, and the big old buck stepped out from behind a bush. Boom, I'm 5 feet from my truck. That kind of stuff does happen. But sometimes it's really hard work. You're camping out there, maybe you're backpacking a little bit. You're working really hard to achieve this result. That's part of the reward of hunting. And I don't think a lot of people want to do that. We're in that instant gratification society. And part of that, my second point of why I think people aren't hunting, is because kids aren't being taught to hunt, because their parents aren't, or mentors or whatever, aren't teaching them to hunt because they're kind of lazy about it. And now we've got this kind of Xbox texting social media generation that, again, wants instant gratification. They want notification, or what am I looking for? Verification of what they're doing. They want recognition for what they're doing. And you're not always going to get that when you're out hunting. You know, most of the recognition and notification and verification, whatever, all the occasions that I need come to me and just me. And I'm the only one who gets to experience them. I don't post them on Facebook. I don't text anybody about it. I have a great hunting experience. That's for me.
Yeah.
I don't need to be verified by anybody else. I don't need someone else to tell me I'm doing a good job or anything like that.
Because you already have high self-esteem.
Well, that's fine. If you have low self-esteem, quit being a pussy about it and get some higher self-esteem. Damn it. So, like, the idea is that I think those are kind of the two reasons that people are not out there hunting.
I think there's also this kind of this old guard kind of mentality where they're like, the older guys are like, oh, these young kids and their skinny jeans and their Facebook, they don't want to hunt. They're not interested, so I'm not going to put forth any effort to try and teach them. When there are kids, like, I make snap judgments on people all the time. I saw a couple of kids pull up to the local Starbucks the other day, and I look at them and I'm like, oh, look, it's a couple of hipsters.
Hipster fuel.
And they start unloading their truck, and they both pull out compound bow cases, and I'm like, okay, maybe I misjudged these kids. Maybe these guys were out hiking or backpacking or whatever. Maybe they were doing some hunting. So I think there's that kind of misunderstanding and stuff. Because
you mean what I just did on the air?
Yeah.
I will agree with you. I will agree with you. Now, on that note, I will say this. Anyone who ever, I don't care what they look like, how they dress, what they do in their other recreational time, anyone who has ever expressed any interest in hunting towards me, I give them every opportunity possible to take them out and teach them and show them, because that's kind of the point I want to make is, like, if you hunt and you enjoy it, I don't care if you're any good at it. I don't care if you're a body slaying, deer killer. If you just hunt and you understand the concepts and you like getting out there, even if you don't really, kill a lot of animals or even see a lot of animals, if you're just getting out there and having a good time, enjoying yourself, then get out there and teach people. Get out there and take out kids. Get out there and if you don't know where to start, go to your game and fish department. They always have new hunter programs that they need volunteers for in the worst way because, the hunting numbers are dwindling. Pay a special close attention to the ladies. The ladies are what's keeping hunting alive. Women want to know more and more these days. We see it in shooting sports. They're becoming a rising number of the competition sports. And we're certainly seeing it in hunting, where ladies are becoming a huge portion of the population that's hunting, shooting, competing. Pay attention to that. If the lady in your life, whether it's your niece or your daughter or your wife, girlfriend, neighbor, whatever, take them out and get them excited and interested in hunting. Get people out there and get them interested in hunting. Even if they don't hunt a lot, even if they don't kill anything, at least they're out there. They're enjoying the outdoors. They're getting some experience. And more importantly, that kind of stuff I found helps people vote differently. Once they've had that firsthand experience, they go, oh, now I see what this is all about. We see it in shooting all the time. People get, I just bought my handgun, I'm not really sure about it. And then they go through a class and they're like, oh, now I understand. And so it's the same thing with hunting. People are kind of on the fence, like, I don't know, maybe I should hunt. I'll invite people all the time. It's just like, hey, just go hunting with me. We won't kill anything. I've taken people out and said, look, I promise you I won't kill anything. I'll take you out hunting and I'll show you animals and I'll show you how close we can get to them. And we'll have a great experience. I won't kill a thing. Go with me and I'll show you. Only a couple people have ever taken me up on the opportunity. I tell people all the time, like, I will do this for you. If you're on the fence about hunting, only a couple people have ever taken me up on the opportunity. But do that if that's what it takes. Do whatever it takes to get people out there. And how do we start to mentor people? Take them out and show them how awesome it could be. Don't be stressful to the kids, especially. Oh, you got to kill something. We're gonna hike 10 miles, and then it's gonna be arduous and terrible terrain. It's like, take people out and let them have a good time. Let them enjoy themselves. Let them enjoy the outdoors. Let them see some animals. Don't get crazy about being successful. I take my kids out. I plan on never seeing animals. My kids don't want to sit still. They're a little noisy. They get tired. They get hungry, whatever.
I can't help but, this is going to sound funny, but there's that reality TV show, that family that lives in Alaska, and they have to hunt and basically, grow their food and whatnot. And
Right.
one of the guys, I was flipping through it, and I just happened to catch it. He was bear hunting, and he said, if you're gonna be a hunter, you have to be patient.
Mhm.
You have to be. There's going to be times where you sit out there for hours and hours and hours, sometimes days,
Mhm.
and you don't see a thing.
Mhm.
You just got to be patient.
And that's just to kind of round things out today. That's one of the big advantages of hunting and
Yeah.
taking people, being a mentor and taking people out hunting. And if you're not interested in hunting yet, or you're trying to get interested in hunting, go out and try it. Even if you don't want to kill anything, fine. Go out and hunt so that you can learn patience, so that you can learn self-confidence, so that you can learn how to take care of yourself, so that you can enjoy this wonderful world that we have and the beautiful sights. I mean, I've seen amazing things. I found Indian ruins and petroglyphs and seen beautiful canyons, watched beautiful sunsets, seen animals do amazingly cool things, all because I was out there.
Yeah.
You know, my dad's got a saying that he told me when I remember as a kid, where he'd say, you know, you can't hunt from your bed.
Nope.
You gotta get out there. You know, you've got to get out there and be a part of it. So if you're interested in hunting, just get out there. Find someone. If you can find a mentor, great. But if you can't, don't be afraid to go out there and make some mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and get involved in hunting. John,
I'm sold. As soon as my foot heals up, we're going.
Where do we
hunting.
start? So that's that. I think that's the best advice that I can give. Adam, what do you think?
No, I think that's good. You just got to be out there. Learn how to, walk in the, learn how to walk it in the woods. I say the woods because I'm used to being in the woods, but
Right.
learn how to walk out, in the wild, in nature, and not spook animals.
Mhm.
Try to, that's it. And enjoy being out there. I think you will really start to appreciate just how peaceful it is. Something, sometimes, people think, it's kind of scary being out here because you realize just how vulnerable you are when it's just you.
I'm a soft-skinned biped.
Yeah, you're like, I'm dinner to
Right.
somebody right now,
Yeah, right.
and I don't, I've been doing it for years and years and years, and sometimes when I'm out there, I'll find myself, I'm sitting out there, and if I hear something, I was like, I
What
just
was that?
realized that I'm the only one out here
Mhm.
by myself, and if something happens to me,
Game over.
yeah.
Well, and on that
So
note,
you got to
just
keep your head on a swivel. when
remember
you're
to
out there.
always
You
tell
keep your
somebody
head on a
where you're
swivel. Yeah,
going. By the
exactly.
way, don't keep it a secret. Have a good hunting plan. Last thing I want to note real quick, kind of on a personal note, so to speak. If you're a veteran, or if you're not a veteran, if you are somebody who's just having a hard time in life, and you just really don't think life's worth living anymore, or you're just really struggling on what's going on in your life, especially if you're a veteran, because that's kind of near and dear to our hearts here. Go out and try hunting. I promise you it'll be therapeutic. If you have questions on it, please contact us. Jump on our Facebook page, on the Arms Room or Independence Training, either one, and contact us. If you're in our area, I will happily take you out hunting. Whether you're interested in killing or not, we will definitely make that opportunity happen for you. If you have any questions otherwise about hunting, feel free to jump on to either one of those Facebook pages. Ask us. We're always happy to answer those questions. Next week,
What's next week?
we're going to have Marty Stonecipher
Oh, cool.
from The Well-Armed Woman.
Hey.
Yeah, she's going to be talking to us about The Well-Armed Woman and the concept of that whole program and what they're trying to do here in Arizona as well as across the nation, and kind of a follow-up a little bit to previous programs we've had with how are we going to get more women involved in the shooting sports and self-defense and all that good stuff.
Right on.
Until then, stay aware, stay safe, and train hard. You've been listening to The Arms Room.
What's so bright?